What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bear Down Boys podcast, where apparently donkeys explode every other day in Southeast Texas. To my right is J Rice Sports. He is the man who found the donkey, apparently, or his dad did, apparently. To my bottom right is the Miller of Football, who susses himself out from whatever he says that comes out of his mouth. And right below me is the boys of the boys, is Nicole. She's our surprise that I mentioned at the end of last episode. If anyone made it through that episode of us talking about margaritas and alcoholic drinks for half of it, I re-listened to it just to make sure it was about the Bears, and half of it was not.
It's okay. It all related back to Dan Feeney.
Yeah, Dan Feeney's the greatest. So before we begin, how are you doing? I don't have a special question for today. I was trying to think of one I could figure out one.
You failed.
I did. I failed the
You
city.
didn't answer your question because you couldn't think of a special one.
See, I feel like we're becoming less of a Bears podcast and more just Bears themed podcast.
Yeah,
it all relates to the Bears, but it's not all specifically just the Bears.
Football hasn't started yet. That's why.
That's also fair.
What
Nicole.
else are we supposed to do?
Nicole, if you were to pick one current Bears player to bring with you to the zombie apocalypse, who would it be?
Ooh.
We asked the question
Good
last
one.
week, so
One current Bears player, you said?
current existing on the 53-man roster.
To help me fight off the zombies, I need to think
Just in the complete zombie apocalypse, surviving, living,
okay.
Chilling out.
Give me Jaquan Brisker.
See, I told you guys it was Jaquan Brisker.
I already forgot who my answer was.
Yours
Scales.
You said Fields, I think.
I was gonna say it was either Fields or Pat Scales.
It was Pat. Well, you were said Fields was the easy answer, but Pat Scales, felt you could connect more with to live with, day by day. My answer was.
Sorry,
go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say you got to think about it. This is a person you're gonna have to live with. I want to find somebody that's gonna vibe with me, and you cannot tell me that me and Pat Scales would not be instant BFFs.
My answer was Roschon Johnson, just because he's also from Southeast Texas, and we have guns. We're just all trained with guns straight out of the womb. You get a handgun. Everyone knows how to shoot a gun around here, so it makes
Instead
sense.
of the wrapping you in the baby blanket, you're given a pistol.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of Roschon Johnson, he changed his number
to 23.
Yeah.
The greatest number of Bears.
See, I like it, but I also really liked 30, so
He looked good in 30.
I feel like I like 23 as a number more, but I feel like just the vibes you get from him as a player, 30 fit him better, but I mean, we'll see. Maybe in game time, when he actually has the 23 on for the game, it'll look different, and I'll get, I'll be happier with it, but 30 I kind of am sad he's changing it from.
Well, Trevon Dexter also changed his number to 99, which his college number was 9, I believe. So
yeah,
he's just doubled that now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how I'm
I'm a little upset about the Roschon thing though, because I already know I'm gonna get immense amount of shit when I say that the first number 23 Bears jersey I'll ever own is not Devin Hester, because I'm getting a Roschon jersey by the time this season ends, and I've never owned a Hester jersey. It feels almost sacrilegious.
A little bit.
I owned a Hester jersey when I was 10.
No, I was always a defensive guy growing up, so I always had Urlacher and Peppers, and I think I had a Tillman jersey at one point.
I had a Greg Olsen
I still have
jersey.
my Hester jersey from when I was 6, and it still fits because I'm small.
I think I specifically only got Brian Urlacher jerseys as a kid, so I have 3 of his.
Oh no, I lied. My first jersey was Jay Cutler, so I did have one offensive player.
I have a Brandon Marshall and then a Matt Forte, but I don't have a Hester now.
I always wanted a Forte jersey, but I never got one. I also started getting old players at a really young age. I want to say the third jersey I ever owned was Dick Butkus.
That's fair,
though.
one.
That's a good one.
And I've had 4 different Walter Payton jerseys.
I've never owned the Payton jersey. I need to get that.
I do too.
It's going to be my next one.
That also feels sacrilegious to not have.
Yeah, it's a Bears thing. You own at least one, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Dick Butkus, the Packers are what we're facing this week, and he hates the Packers with all his heart. Twitter is just him shitting on the Packers, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
That old man knows how to use Twitter better than I do. So, how do we feel going into this week? I know me and Jared and Miller talked about a little bit at the end of the last episode about Jordan Love mostly, but how do we feel like walking into this week?
I guess
I
we're
feel-
kind of going to
Just
Nicole with that
someone
one.
Okay.
then.
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. I think it's usual first game jitters where you just, and I think with the players too, you're just kind of unsure what you're gonna see. Still, second year coaching staff. Technically, I'm gonna say it's Justin Fields' second year too. So it's and a lot of new pieces added in. So really excited, feel really good going into this week. It's more so like you guys said, you were talking about Jordan Love. What are we gonna see out of Jordan Love? Like that's the real kicker here. Because that we don't know if he's gonna have his weapons or not, but like that determines a lot about how I feel going into, the season as a whole. Otherwise pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like a total homer, but I have no fear of Green Bay this year for the first time in the 20 years I've been on this planet. So like that's huge. And the big reason for that is not only I don't have a ton of faith in Jordan Love, like I think he'll be okay, but I think at least to start off it's going to be really rough for him, especially if Watson and Dubs don't play like is possible because they both apparently fucked up their hamstrings.
Mhm.
And if he has neither of them and we're watching him rely on his two tight ends and Jaden Reed is wide receiver one, like I'm not bothered by that at all. And then on the offensive side of things, the only concern for me would be like the pass rush in Green Bay against our offensive line, but Rashawn Gary's going to be on a limited snap count. Kenny Clark, I mean, he's Kenny Clark, but I'm confident in our interior offensive line for the first time in forever, and the run game's going to be good. Like I have no fears going into this game, and that feels so nice. I love it.
I'm gonna be honest. This might make me sound like a bad fan. I didn't realize Watson and Dobbs were remotely hurt.
Isn't Dobbs
this
your
point,
guy?
This happened like
I
today.
like
Yeah.
Dobbs. I mean,
This
I don't
is
like.
new.
Okay, that's why I haven't been on Twitter all day.
Yeah.
When I go on dates with the girlfriend, she like no phone at all, so I haven't really been on it as much. So missed
Yeah, way to rub it
completely.
in, bud.
Girlfriend's in rule too.
Retract that. That totally didn't happen. Ignore everything I said. But wasn't on the phone for today for whatever reason. Who knows? So I missed that. Yeah, if they don't have Dobbs or Watson, Reed I like as a, eventually being a solid number 3, maybe like a low end number 2 receiver, but he's not going to be like a superstar or anything like that. Jordan Love is, a developing quarterback, and it's important to surround developing quarterbacks with weapons. It's kind of like the whole thing we've had with Fields is get him weapons so he can truly develop into that superstar elite kind of quarterback that he has the potential to get to. If you have Jaden Reed and then, Musgrave and Kraft as your top weapons, who are all rookies, by the way, that's not good for a young quarterback. His weapons already are.
Hold on, Jared. I'm going to let you finish. But breaking news out of Chicago. Dante Pettis just got cut.
Did he seriously?
Yes.
He was already on IR, though, for the rest of the season, wasn't he?
I kind of thought he
Yeah.
was already cut, not gonna lie.
It literally just came out from Daniel Greenberg. He got
Damn.
released. No more dainty penis in Chicago, unfortunately.
Megan Fox is playing Tara in Mortal Kombat 1. Just sorry. I just didn't think Megan Fox would be, in Mortal Kombat.
I will say Dante Pettis, I hyped him up so much going into last season because that's what you do as a fan, but he was mediocre at best, and I appreciated it.
He had
fine.
that one catch against Washington.
Washington right in front of my face. That
was the game you were
good.
at.
I literally was like 10 feet from the man when he did that, and I was like, holy shit. That was, I think my girlfriend, I used the term like he's him repeatedly when that happened about Justin Fields, and then she's like, what does that even mean? So yeah, cultural things. But
You were just confirming his pronouns. That's
yeah,
all.
basically. Back to the whole Packers thing. Love is a developing quarterback, and I think that he's I know he's sat for a few years, but there's a difference between like learning in practice and in game. You're still going to have those struggles to start off. I think that he needs better weapons to truly succeed, like I think he possibly could. With the weapons he would have without Watson or Dobbs playing, I think he'd be... I don't want to use the term screwed, but I'm going to use the term screwed because that's not good. It's not good at all.
Sorry.
There we go.
I'm trying to fix my Wi-Fi. Okay, I don't think my Wi-Fi's acting up.
No excuse.
Yeah, Miller, I'm a little more scared of Green Bay than I am in most usual years, just because of the unknown that is Jesus Christ, that is Jordan Love. And you were talking about how that you're confident in the inside O line right now. I am not, just for the simple fact that Tevin is out, and if Tevin wasn't out, I'd be much more comfortable. But right now, I have butterflies for the first time in a while, because I knew that walking into last season we were gonna suck. Even though I was hyping up the Bears, we were gonna suck. And the last few years before that, it was just Matt Nagy and all that bullshit.
Aw.
Did he freeze?
Like I said,
Oh,
I was
there
trying to
he
fix the
is.
internet. I was trying to fix the internet. What's the last thing you guys heard?
Matt Nagy and all the bullshit. That was the last thing.
Yeah,
I heard.
okay, that wasn't too long ago. Okay, but yeah, Matt Nagy on the bullshit that happened before then. Like the last time I was this excited for a Bears team was 2018, which we all know ended in a complete disaster. But like I said, this is the first time I had butterflies since then, and because walking those seasons, I wasn't very confident in the team, and I'm confident in this team. Just I'm scared that we're gonna walk into week 1 and get blown out because we were so hyped. It was like walking in, like inside your own head, but just too confident.
Well, the good thing about this is I don't think there's a world where we get blown out. Like Jordan Love, even if he looks good, isn't going to be Aaron Rodgers good. So we don't have to worry about that. Like worst case scenario, this is a grind fest where both teams are just pounding the rock and Green Bay comes out on top. That's all that is. But with the interior O-line, I am totally fine with Lucas Patrick at center. I know a lot of people have given up on him, but he hardly got to play last year. And when he was playing, he was hurt. And also, like, center's the least important position on the offensive line, assuming you can just get the ball to the quarterback, because you can make up for it with double teams and, different pulls and whatnot. So I'm not too worried about that. I like Cody at guard. I like Nate Davis at guard. You've got, in my eyes, 2 top 15 guards, and then the tackles will be fine. So I don't have any concerns with the offensive line, even without Tevin. I mean, obviously it'll be a lot better with Tevin, but I still think this is like 15 times better than what we were trotting out last year. So I'm not concerned whatsoever about that.
Well,
Probably bite me in the ass, but
we were marching out like us type level of players. Okay, so
I did take 3 snaps at left guard for the Bears last year. This is true.
I do remember that. Yes, it was a immaculate day for all Bears
That
fans.
Minnesota game at the very end, I was blocking for David Blau.
Did David Blau start that game?
He didn't start, but I think he
No,
played
he
a
was
little
in
bit.
Arizona.
He was?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of 2 years ago against Minnesota when he
Last year
took
we had
snaps.
Tim Boyle.
Wasn't he a Lion 2 years ago?
That's the problem. I got David Blau and Tim Boyle confused. My bad. Sorry. They're both NPCs. They're not real football
Hey,
players.
respect Tim Boyle.
No.
No, we will not
Respect
respect
David
Tim
Blau.
Boyle.
Man,
I'll
can do
respect
a
David
match.
Blau a little bit. Tim Boyle literally was ass in college, somehow made it to the pros, and was even more ass in the pros. Bro has never been good at the one thing that he's like a
He's got to
professional
be the
at.
nicest guy in the locker room.
There's something.
Surely.
something.
It's a Nathan
Just
Bro
like
is
Peterman.
not good at football.
Peterman's got to be the same way.
Peter meme.
Peter Beam.
Maybe
He's
the
a lot
teams
better than
just-
Peter Beam.
Maybe teams nowadays just sign Peterman for the jokes. It's even
They
like
might.
it's a running.
That's
joke
another
within
one that
NFL
it's like he's got to
organizations.
be the nicest guy in the
I
locker
was
room.
gonna say that's the hype with him. Anytime you hear a coach talk about him, it's about the locker room presence.
Well, John Gruden thought
You
he
know,
should be like,
that must be so good for a player's confidence when the only positives you get from your coaches is, yeah, he's pretty cool in the locker room. I mean, he sucks at football, but he's a cool guy, and that's
we'll
all.
pay
You
him
get.
millions of dollars to hang out.
I was gonna say you're getting paid millions of dollars to chill and have fun like that. I want Nathan Peterman's job, dude. I'm so jealous of Nathan Peterman.
I am as well.
I mean, that's fair, but those few plays you have to play when the starter gets injured and you just look like shit and the entire world makes fun of you, feels like it would suck for your, like, I don't know, confidence in life itself.
Wasn't his first start like 5 interceptions against the Chargers?
I think it
The
was
like,
first half.
6 in the
First
first
half,
half,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
yeah. So like
It was
his
not good.
confidence was already shot. Like he could only go
Yeah.
up.
Bro
I mean-
can never succeed after that first game.
Also, like
Yeah.
his Madden rate's the 49. I don't think your confidence gets any lower when you see that you're under 50. So, like, I think Bro's doing fine though. He's getting paid millions of dollars. Like, I don't think he's got time to complain about that stuff. He's got
Well,
to coach Justin.
Okay, Grayson, I know you're not the type of person to be like that, but I hate that argument that
What?
we should just disregard the confidence of a player because they make millions of dollars.
No, I'm
Money
saying-
can't buy happiness.
No, I'm saying, bro, it's probably like, hey, I got the best job in the world. I get to sit behind Justin Fields, watch him play every week, get paid millions of
Okay,
dollars.
but on the flip side, he could think, wow, people think I'm a total joke and nobody takes me seriously. That could be weighing on his
and I don't
mental.
think he thinks that. I think,
Well,
bro.
How do you know? You talking to him yesterday?
I did.
You have his phone number?
I did indeed.
Yeah.
See, I like to think about it like, okay, listen, I was never a college or, obviously professional athlete. The highest level I ever went to was high
From
school.
someone with no experience, here's
I
what
have
I
I have high school experience, and that's all you need. Whenever you're like, I'll use the phrase, when you got that dog in you of being a competitive person, it doesn't matter like what the reason is. If you're on the bench for any reason, then you're just pissed off all the time. Whenever I sat on the even my junior year of high school, I started every game and I played all but like 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes where I sat on the bench, I was pissed off that I was in the game because I'm like, these people suck ass. I'm better than them. Why am I not playing?
I think you might just have anger issues.
That is also fair, but I don't know. I think if you're competitive, there's like, even if hypothetically I'm the backup to Tom Brady, obviously you're not going to start over Tom Brady, but I'm going to be like, in my mind, I'm better than Tom Brady. Why am I not playing? Because from my standpoint as a competitor, no matter what level it is, if you don't think you're the best at everything you do, there's not a point of doing it. So as an athlete, you think you're the best. I guarantee every single athlete in whatever sport thinks that they're the best player in the league. That's just how it is. That's why
We all remember Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. When he brought
Go
up,
ahead,
I'm
I
like
won't
a
steal
top
it.
3 receiver, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, he's an idiot." There's no way he actually thinks that. Yes, he actually thinks that, because all athletes, especially the very good ones, they think they're the best. That's why they strive to be the best, and that's how they can be the best, is by thinking they're the best. If you don't think you're the best, you won't be the best.
But I think at this point in time, with Peterman and how his track record has gone, I think he's just resigned himself to being a backup. I think he's okay with that. I think he's fine with that because he
Yeah, well, I think you're making assumptions.
I ain't making assumptions, but I think Peterman he's got the confidence enough in himself to be like, this is my job. I'm gonna fill my role. I'm gonna do my job, and I'm gonna execute it the best way possible. If I get thrown in as the third emergency quarterback, I'll do my job. I will bring this team to victory if I can. But right now, this is my job on this team, and I'm gonna do it.
Listen, very simple solution here. Nathan Peterman, if you're out there, because I know you obviously watch this show, please come on and tell us where your confidence and your mental state are at currently.
We're just trying to get Bears players.
Everybody DM Nathan Peterman.
None of the starters, though. We've reached out to Nathan Peterman and Dan Feeney.
And Kyle Long.
Okay, and Kyle Long, yeah.
We're
But to be fair, Kyle Long is not at all football related. I just want to ask Kyle Long how to be a better man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just Trenton Gill, listen, bro. We come on the podcast, please, for the jokes.
I do that with Kari, but he already follows me on Twitter, so I don't have to. Slight flex.
Get him on. What are you waiting for?
I've been trying for 2 different podcasts, okay? The man is busy.
Yeah, now that he is.
He's top 5 fullback in the league. Like,
damn straight.
He doesn't have time for us.
He's
too
busy.
Next offseason, Kari's going to be on the podcast. We're speaking in
Giovanni Ricci. Bro's not doing anything.
Bro's not a bear.
He's fullback. Miller enjoyed talking to him.
Treston Ebner.
I'll have you know he's not a fullback anymore. He's actually a tight end, so fuck you.
Is he? Did Tommy Trouble and him just trade positions?
I'm pretty sure. At least that's what I've heard.
Fair. All right.
According to my sources, that's the fullback dynamic in Carolina.
Insider Miller now.
Only when it comes to fullbacks. I'm not allowed to ask about anything else.
Bro goes into the press conference and they won't allow him to ask Justin questions. It's just when Kari comes up.
Dude, if I had a chance to talk to Kari, I think he'd probably hate me because I have so many things that I want to call him out on. Not football related at all. Yeah. Like I'm trying to remember what exactly. First of all, he said Batman's not a superhero. He thinks Batman's a joke.
That's a take.
Yeah.
What's the
And then
definition of superhero though? Like, is
Well, he
superhero
was
someone
he
with
was just
power?
going off about how he doesn't have powers, so he shouldn't be a superhero.
By that definition, he's not a superhero. Though.
Okay, but like no one's getting that technical, Grayson.
I do. I'm a nerd.
Okay, well,
He's a DC superhero, therefore he's
exactly.
he wears a cape. Like that should be enough.
Thank you. See, Nicole gets me. But no, it was that, and then he said something about musicals one time too that didn't sit right with me, and I was like, "Oh, come on now."
Did you see that High School Musical was not the greatest musical of all time?
Well, that would be correct. No,
No,
I
it
think
wouldn't be correct.
No, it would be. High School Musical is not the greatest musical of all time.
It definitely is.
Are we gonna have this debate right now? Is that what we're gonna do? Are we gonna turn this into a musical episode?
Yes, we have that. We have full time until week 1 starts, and we can complain about the Packers game next week.
All right, whatever. Just move on, Mr. Host Man. What do we got?
I don't really have much planned for today, besides talking about our comparisons between the Packers and the Bears and how we feel on a positional basis and how we feel overall, like we'd already talked about. But I guess we can start off with the quarterbacks. It's the most important position on the field at any given time. Jordan Love and Justin Fields. Jordan Love walking into his first season starting. He started 2 games last season when Rodgers was hurt. He showed some promise according to Packers fans, but I don't really trust Packers fans at this point in time with how they view their quarterbacks because they've had 30 years of Hall of Famers. Overall, how do you feel about the comparison between Justin Fields and Jordan Love as like a, overall basis?
I'll start, I guess. So Fields, I think just his experience starting games, while a lot of those games haven't been the most pleasant of experiences, we have from his rookie year such famous games as the game against the Cleveland Browns or, last year's game against the Texans. I remember distinctly being very upset with him in that game.
Yeah.
But all of it's a learning experience, he just seems to be more of a raw prospect than I thought he was coming out of college. And also Matt Nagy just set him back basically an entire year. But he does have that experience, especially towards the end of last year. He really found that you could see he was starting to find that next level and get to that, the kind of show a lot more flashes of potentially being like a top 10 guy. So I think the experience definitely helps him over Jordan Love. I also think they're 2 very, very different kind of quarterbacks. Fields is more of a flashy guy. I think of Jordan Love more of he does have a strong arm, yes. And I feel like he's not scared to take those deep shots, but again, we haven't seen a lot of him, but from what I've seen in the limited amounts, he seems more of he just takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't ever try to make his own plays that often. I think Jordan Love will be a decent quarterback, but I think in this, again, he started games, but first game as starter, he's going to have those learning curves and things that is going to be a disadvantage for him. So if we're going from what team has the advantage at quarterback, I would definitely go with the Bears over the Packers. And for the first time ever, we can say that and not sound like we're just completely biased, which is very fun.
Come on, Jay Cutler was definitely better than Aaron Rodgers. Caleb Haney,
Sure.
better than Rodgers. See?
Brian Hoyer for that one season was pretty decent.
You guys have yet to name a real person.
Josh McCown?
Close.
Jimmy Clausen?
Mitchell Trubisky.
Jimmy Clausen, man.
Matt
not-
Barkley. Future Buffalo
Matt
Bills punter
Barkley.
Matt Barkley.
Bro,
God.
Jason Campbell.
Jesus Christ.
I
bro.
remember-
Wow, that's a name.
I remember when the Bears were hyped up to have the best backup quarterback in the league when we signed Jason Campbell.
He came from the Raiders, and my stepdad is a Raiders fan, and I remember watching the Raiders game, and I'm like, oh no, dude's kind of ass. And then he came to the Bears, and I'm like, dude's still kind of ass.
That was when I was still getting a lot of my information from my dad. So he must have read half of an article and been like, yeah, this is the best backup quarterback in football. All the experts are saying it.
So
Oh
it
my
must be
God.
true.
Yeah, that was a time. Now, when it comes to Fields versus Love, there's not really a comparison simply because Love hasn't really played. It's hard to argue a guy who's played, like Grayson said, 2 games, maybe 2.5 games, and say that he's better than Fields at anything.
Mhm.
Like, he's older than Fields. He's obviously very much less athletic than Fields. I worded that terribly, but you get the point. His arm is fine. Like, he has a strong arm, and I think he's going to do a lot of, like Jarrett said, taking what the defense gives him. But I'm not moved by Jordan Love. I've yet to be given a reason to be moved by Jordan Love. And that's not to say I think he's going to suck. I think he could be like a Jared Goff level quarterback at the very least, but I don't know. I'm not moved by that. Thankfully, I don't think we're going to get a third time of Green Bay having a random Hall of Fame quarterback just fall into their laps.
See, I might be insane, which I think I brought this up last time. There's that one little part of me that's like, they've been so lucky. Who's to say they won't get lucky again? Which, please just don't. Like, football gods, please just give us mercy. Let us be good for like longer than a year. I've been a fan for so long, and we've had like 3 good seasons in my fanhood. Like, please just, or at least make one of the other teams good and just not the Packers. That's all I want.
Give the Lions some time to shine.
Nah, I don't know. Lions fans kind of piss me
Lions
off.
are overrated.
Now Lions
dude.
fans are annoying. Now
Yeah,
it's
they
not
kind of.
anymore.
It's not fun anymore. They're not the what's the term, like enjoyable losers.
Yeah.
Lovable losers.
Lovable losers. That's what they. Yeah,
I just can't
they're just losers. I don't know.
I can't give Geek the satisfaction of having the Vikings be good and actually like win games in the playoffs.
It's not even a geek thing. It's just Vikings fans in general are insufferable. All of the fan bases in the NFC North suck.
Yeah,
All 4 fan bases are
ours,
terrible. Yeah. I don't know why this fan base decided to suck this division fan bases decided to suck all of a sudden, but
It's been like this the whole time, bud. It's been like this the whole time.
The Lions weren't as bad. The Lions
That's 'cause
didn't get bad until Dan Campbell came around, and I'm not blaming Dan Campbell. He just gave them false hope.
Dan Cable is him though.
I don't know. Maybe they were just quiet because they were bad for so long, but now it's like they're acting like they're the best team in the league, and it's like,
Yeah, they've got
obnoxious
Packers
about
level arrogance, and I don't understand it.
it's
And
like
they like
they
haven't
didn't
won a
even make,
division since
they didn't even
20.
make the playoffs. I mean, they had a solid season last year that like showed hope, but they didn't even make the playoffs. And they're like, yeah, we're favorites for the division. We're going to the Super Bowl, and I'm like maybe, but just chill. Relax.
Like,
Calm down.
can you guys like make the playoffs and win a division first before we do this?
The
Like,
Buccaneers
Right.
have won the division more recently than they
Say.
have, so like they need to.
I
cool a
love
little
that. I love that tidbit. That's.
I
so
hope they never win
wonderful.
the division just so we can bring this up more.
Every year.
Vikings win the division for us so that we can make fun
I
of the
still
Lions
think
more.
it's theirs to lose. To be fair, like
I've been saying that the whole time. People are
It's-
very much overreacting, like how much worse the Vikings are this year. I do think that they're
they
like
lost Dalvin Cook, but like
It's a running back.
It's the Vikings
but
division.
he
to
was a
lose.
big part of their offense. But I still think like
Kirk
as long as Kirk
Cousins-
Cousins does
yeah.
his job like 60% of the time, which he does,
Mhm.
they'll be fine. They're gonna
Kirk-
win games. Like
Kirk
they're-
is still the
Yeah.
best quarterback in the division, and that matters a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the best quarterback in the division. Their defense is much improved, and they actually have a guy with like an IQ above 5 running it now. So like the
Yeah, that's the
Vikings.
thing. They have a coach now.
Yeah, the only thing that can stop the Vikings this year is themselves, which we know it's the Vikings. That does happen, but I'm not betting on anyone else to win this division outside of them. It really is theirs to lose right now because the Lions are overrated to hell and back. I don't know why people randomly are hyped up on the Packers right now, and the Bears just aren't there yet.
The
We just need
Packers
football
won.
games to be played.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's the shitty thing. Like at this point in the offseason, it's so annoying because people have ran out of takes, so they just start making shit up.
and I feel like one person makes up a take and everyone runs with it. Like no one really talked about the Packers. Like we accepted that they're like going through like a rebuild or a retool, whatever you want to say. And they're like, they're not as good as they were last year. And, you know, they weren't even a playoff team last year. Then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? The Packers are contenders. I don't know what it is, but Jordan Love for MVP. And it's just like,
Right.
why is that a thing?
They're thinking that like they're gonna win the division when they did not win the division last year and they lost a Hall of Fame quarterback. So they're going a little cuckoo. Nicole, how do you feel about Jordan Love versus Justin Fields? Even though we all know that there's not much to talk about.
Yeah, it's Fields. Like Jared said, like the experience alone has him above. I know, like I said, we really need football games to be played because Packers fans are saying all this about Jordan Love, and like, yeah, they might be proven right. I sincerely hope they aren't because they're so annoying. But like, to say like going into the season that he has the edge is just factually incorrect when one guy has actually played 60 minutes of meaningful football and Jordan Love hasn't. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think Justin Fields second year in the same system, new weapons, like actual weapons. Love and respect Darnell Mooney, but like DJ Moore was my favorite non-bear. So now that he is a bear, like this is the greatest day of my life. Like he's as long as Fields can like spread the ball around, I just hope he doesn't fall into like what Kyler Murray did. And I compare him because I'm in Arizona, but like you knew the ball was going to DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
Like you knew, like you didn't really hide it. As long as Fields can spread the ball around, which I'm not too worried about, because he's going to use his legs too. And Jared made a great point. Like Jordan Love doesn't create plays. He has the running ability. He can get out of the pocket. It's almost like that lack of experience. Like, not saying he's scared to, but he almost is. And so that first game is going to be, like, really telling. Yep. But, yeah, Fields has the edge.
Yeah. I think everyone thinks that in, like, their heart of hearts. I don't think any Packers fans like, yes, Jordan Love is better than Justin Fields at this current moment.
I don't know.
I don't know. They pull those stats up as, like...
I'm not going to say it, but they are from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Tariq Cohen has one less touchdown than Jordan Love, okay? That's all I got to say. If you're
means nothing.
But if you're saying Jordan Love is better, and our running back, who has been injured for how many years, that is now looking for another job, has more touchdown passes than you, that you have no.
Well, he doesn't have more. First
close
of all,
to. He has
second of all, stats do not matter that much, especially for young players.
I'm just saying, bro.
I'm just saying it's funny, haha, stat. Yeah. Let's not put any actual weight into it. It means nothing.
I want to point out something about stats, which kind of David is. They give some context, but it like isn't all that matters. So this poster behind me, which is like the Bears-Lions game, which is the first game I went to in Chicago, which I did pick that game because we were playing the Lions and Jared Goff, and I'm like, Jared Goff is a shit quarterback, so we're going to win that game. We did win that game. That was Fields. It was his second career start, technically.
That was the big comeback, right?
It was. No, we won. Like, we were leading the whole game.
Was that the one where, like,
that was the year
Goff
before.
Had an interception off his head?
Yeah.
Okay.
It, like, they snapped it into him and it bounced in the air. One of the defensive linemen picked it off. But so in that game, it was Fields' first game as, like, the listed quarterback one on the depth chart, which I think is really cool that I got to go to that game. There were, like, I know 2 of the times when we scored touchdowns, Fields threw a pass that got us, like, within the 10 or the 5-yard line, which, so the good plays don't count as touchdowns, and then we just punch it in with like Monty.
Mm-hmm.
So like it Fields in that game didn't have great stats, but like the receiver is 3 yards further, it's a touchdown, and he has like a 2-3 touchdown game, and it's like a completely different scenario, even though it's basically the same play. I feel like that's why like stats like matter, but they also, without context,
they can be very misleading.
I'm not a stats guy at all.
Let's not forget there was a time Mitch Trubisky threw 5 touchdowns in a game.
6,
right?
Against Tampa.
Yeah.
God, I remember the horrible takes I made after that game. I'm like, Mitch is a franchise quarterback. Yeah. We're going to the Super Bowl. And
Mitch Trubisky is tied for second all time in single game passing touchdowns, and he's currently the backup to Kenny Pickett. So,
hey, give some respect to Kenny Pickett.
No, I like Kenny Pickett, but you know.
We love Mitch, but yeah, Mitch not so
I love Mitch, but Mitch Trubisky was never a good quarterback, and I will die on that hill.
We lied ourselves into thinking he was.
We did. We gaslit ourselves.
We did what we had to do.
Mm-hmm. It was the only way to survive.
Me being a Bears fan has made me a professional gaslighter of myself.
Isaiah Ford also had his contract terminated.
Well, yeah, he used to bring
him now he doesn't have
wide receiver. No,
they were both on IR.
I was like, I don't remember him on the team. I thought he got cut
it was an IR thing. They gave them injury settlements and told him to piss off.
I won't miss Ford. Pettis, I'll miss a little bit, but
I will.
Well, we now have 5 receivers better than Dante Pettis.
We got Trent Taylor,
wide receiver 3 last year.
I'm so excited for Trent Taylor, and I feel like maybe it's the dumbest thing ever. But I'm like, we have a dude who can return punts. That's all I need.
That's important.
It's like Paul said, you can go up, get a snack during a punt, and not have to like have an aneurysm. It's great.
Trent Taylor for MVP. That's what's gonna happen.
He's a
overturning Gill.
He's our
Trent Gill doesn't score touchdowns, and no one respects punters, so he won't win it, but he'll deserve it on the inside where it counts.
he's MVP in our hearts. God damn it!
I want to get Trent Gill on the podcast. That's my goal. I'm a message
do
like
it.
tag this dude on Twitter 100 bajillion times till he notices me. And I'll be like, come on the goddamn podcast.
Just start doing like the day one of tweeting at Trent Gill to come on the Bear
I'll
Down
start
Bear
doing that
Boys
for the
podcast.
Damn, you know what? We're doing that.
I'll
Trent
start
Gill's coming on this
Twitter.
podcast.
Eventually, they take notice.
They
I
do.
will annoy the shit out of this man until he notices me.
Wait until you get blocked.
His girlfriend does know I exist, so that's something.
Wait, what's the context on that again? Because
It was for me being so literally any Bears post on any platform, I say something about like me loving Trenton Gill or something, and they had made a post. It was like some trend on TikTok where it was like they showed the Bears player and then like a celebrity, and then the voice goes dupe, and they kept doing it, and then like I commented and I was like J Rice Sports Trenton Gill dupe, and they said that or I said like Trent Gill's my dupe, and they said like J Rice Sports Trenton Gill dupe, and then you can see like when people view your profile, and someone viewed it, and I'm like I don't know who that is, so I clicked it, and it was she had posted videos like with Trenton Gill, so I'm assuming it's his girlfriend, so she knows I exist.
And you
Good.
assume that that's his girlfriend.
I hope
and
he
you're just
doesn't-
making a weird.
I hope he doesn't kiss his sister, so you know like
Where is he
was-
from? Grayson, find out where he's from.
Give me a second.
oh my god, is he from Texas? It would make so much sense.
I was thinking Alabama, but okay.
Well, there's this
He is from
town-
North Carolina. He went to NC State.
I know nothing about Carolina. I didn't know he went to NC State. I should have.
I don't think they're kissing sisters in North Carolina, thankfully.
See, it's not like
No.
a whole Texas thing. There's this town. I'm going to shout out this town called Vidor, Texas. If anyone has ever heard of it, then you already know. It's
Wait,
the
how do you
most,
spell it? I'm gonna look where it is.
Vidor. It's 15 minutes away from where I live. Vidor, Texas. First off, super racist. They literally
Hey, listen,
like, it's bad.
Vidor, Texas, fuck you in particular.
Yeah. Yes, fuck Vidor, Texas. They're racist, they're incest, and they're bad people, and I don't give a fuck.
Shout out to our viewers that are from Vidor, Texas. 'Cause
Okay, when I
surely they
googled
exist.
Vidor, Texas, one of the fourth search was black population,
Yeah. Because
and then
zero.
the first people also ask, what is the white population in Vidor, Texas?
See, there's something I
What
would
is the
bring
black
up.
population, like 2?
I don't. It's not a big.
Well,
number.
okay, so this says in 2020 there were 11 times more white residents than any other race or ethnicity. 9.62K people.
See, there's
God
something
damn,
I want to
where's this
bring up to
podcast
prove how
going?
racist this town is, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast because I feel like that's probably a no-no.
Where is this podcast going?
We can.
Well,
we can
Grayson,
move
this
off
is what
Vidor.
happens when you are supposed to be the host and you
I'm
don't
trying my
schedule it.
best.
Okay, well, you didn't schedule anything, so you're
that's
just kind of letting us roam wild.
Talk about.
Oh, you know
So-
why it's so racist? It was once known as a KKK stronghold.
A stronghold?
Oh no,
Yeah.
they still have a group. Like you
Oh,
can
I'm
find it
sure,
on
but-
Google. It's not hard to find.
Yeah,
But-
no, there's articles on on like the
Okay.
Vidor, Texas and-
Lord.
To keep this Bears, how about them running backs? All right,
Well, now you got me interested in this history.
we can
Yes,
talk
let's move on to
Vidor
running
after.
backs, please.
Okay, so running
We can
backs,
continue this
guys.
conversation after,
Listen,
please.
this is
Editing exists.
just cut out a chunk. They're like, no context. We just don't even know about it. So running backs, the Packers do have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I do really, really like their running back group. I was kind of low on Aaron Jones. I know I had mentioned this to Miller on one of the podcasts we do together. I think I'm just dumb and I just don't like him for no reason. It's probably biased because Aaron Jones is a very good running back.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned my lesson because now every time we play him since I've said that, he's ran for 5 bajillion yards. So I will give the man his flowers and I will respect him that he is the best running back out of either team. Very, very good player. AJ Dillon, I do like as a power back. I don't think he's anything special. Our running back room is very I like the running back room. They just are very inexperienced for the most part. I mean, Herbert got a lot of carries last year. Foreman, the beginning of his career didn't really get much carries till last year when the Panthers traded McCaffrey. So we don't really have any big name guys. Roshan, I'm so big on it because I think Roshan's going to be a great running back. But first game of his career, probably not running for 200 yards or anything like that. So kind of on the flip side of things, from us having more experience at quarterback giving us the advantage, I'm going to say for running backs, I'll say the other way around. They definitely have more experience, and Aaron Jones being a top 10, they probably like top 7 running back in the entire league. I think that we're definitely got to give the advantage to Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, our running back room's deeper because we're 4 deep with guys that can take legitimate snaps and make an impact with Roshan, Herbert, Foreman, and even Travis Homer. So like I like our depth, and I think that that's obviously a big advantage because you're always going to have a fresh set of legs that can come in and do something. But it's Green Bay pretty easily. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. Not anyone with any common sense, anyways. Because Aaron Jones, like Jarrett said, is one of the 7 or so best running backs in football, and it's not particularly close. However, since we're talking running backs, fullbacks are technically grouped in there. And Chicago wins that by a country mile because, with all due respect to Josiah DeGuara, he is simply not nearly as good as Kari in any aspect of the game. So we might not have the halfbacks, but we do have the fullbacks.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think their top guy is better than our top guy, right? Obviously, Aaron Jones. Even in what limited we've seen, I like Roshan over AJ Dillon. Maybe I'm biased in that, but I already like Roshan over AJ. Khalil Herbert, I still haven't made up my mind about. The potential's there. The upside is there. I think he's really going to miss David Montgomery this season if Roshan Johnson can't break through, which I don't foresee happening. I think Roshan's going to break through, but he needs that. He can't be taking bulk of the carries, in my opinion, Khalil Herbert. I don't think what's the word? I don't know if endurance is the right word, but I don't think he's got that, like, to put it bluntly. And like I said, I can't make my mind up about him. But yeah, Aaron Jones is like, he's going to be running that Packers offense now. That Packers offense will go through him, in essence, because they're going to be doing a lot of play action. They're going to need to do a lot of play action for Jordan Love to feel comfortable.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick, Nicole, I think you hit the nail on the head with the Herbert thing, because I'm with you. I still haven't made my mind up about him either, and I think we might be the only 2 Bears fans that haven't, because everyone else has already hailed him as the savior and, was saying he was better than Monty all of last year and all that, and I still don't subscribe to that. I still think Monty was better.
But I think I'm going crazy. It's like, I want to believe. I can't yet.
I will point out I was on the Monty is better train all of last year too.
Well, yeah, I know. I know you were, but I'm saying like the hailing him as the guy in the backfield. I feel like the amount of people who aren't on that yet is very limited. But the point I'm trying to make here is like Monty was a more complete back. He did everything. And while he might not have been as like quick or elusive or fast as Herbert, he wasn't as efficient as Herbert. It's just him having so much to offer as a pass catcher versus Herbert offering like nothing in the passing game was such a big deal. And now you look at the way this backfield's going to be built. I do think Roshan can be not only a David Montgomery replacement, but a better David Montgomery because he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. I trust his hands more. I think he's smarter. I think he has better vision. Like pretty much everything Monty did, Roshan does better. So I think, I've been saying this for months now, pretty much ever since we drafted the guy. I think he's going to be like the guy in the backfield by the end of the season, if it even takes that long. But Herbert having like the thunder to his lightning, so to speak, is so important for his game because you have the more powerful back that's going to come in on the down-to-down basis and kind of wear down the defense. And then Herbert just shoots through a gap like a rocket when the defensive line and the linebackers are all tired. And I think early on, we'll probably see more of that with Deontay Foreman, which makes sense because that's what he is. He's a bruiser. Like in the back half of last year, the dude was indistinguishable from Nick Chubb, both statistically and quite frankly, if you watched him on tape. And I'm not saying he's as good as Nick Chubb. He's not. I want to put that out there, but he runs like him. He's like a Deontay Foreman is, we have Nick Chubb at home, right? So I I like the dynamic in Chicago's backfield a lot because all the different guys that bring different things. Like Homer is going to be a great third down back, just to throw him in there as well. But I'm glad I'm not the only one who isn't sold on Herbert, because I feel so. I almost question myself when I see people talking about Herbert, and I'm like, I don't see it, because he doesn't. I still don't trust him in the passing aspect of things at all. And his vision's really never moved me. And that's the biggest thing for me with the running back. You got to be able to see the field. You got to be able to, hit a cutback lane. And Herbert can do that from time to time, but he's never like excelled at it. And he's never really moved me with that. Whereas Roshan absolutely does. Monty absolutely did. And going even further back, guys like Matt Forte did. Like, no, I was going to say something, but that wouldn't be true, because I'm more confident in Herbert than the guy I was going to bring up. But
see, my thing with Herbert, which I don't mean this as disrespect to Herbert, I feel like, especially like last year when people said he was better than Monty, was if you really go and think about it, a large majority of football fans, and I don't mean this in a rude way, are like casual fans. They're not, very in depth. And Monty, well, like Monty didn't really have the ability to get those 80-yard touchdown runs just because he didn't have the athleticism to do it. Herbert could, and so they're like, oh, Herbert make big play, Herbert better running back, and that's basically the entire mindset on why I think people think Herbert was better. Herbert's not a bad running back. He's just not, a great one or an elite one or anything like that. He's just like a serviceable guy, but he can make the big play. And any like running backs who can't make those big plays are never going to be viewed as good running backs, because people only care about points. And it's just a casual way of thinking about it.
Yeah. And it's not only that, but if you look at the efficiency numbers last year, Monty's never had good efficiency numbers. Like, he has always been considered one of the least efficient backs in football. And that's more of a product of, bad offensive lines and, having a lot of carries rather than him just being bad or him not being able to be efficient or whatever. But, when you have another back wearing down the defense and kind of taking away a lot of their juice, it makes it a lot easier to be efficient on your carries, especially when you're not getting as many carries. And that's why Herbert has been more efficient than Monty. And that's another thing that like I think the casual fan leans towards what Jarrett's saying. I think the more ingrained fan leans towards the efficiency stats. And I think both are misleading for Herbert.
Yeah.
And that's not to say Herbert sucks. I'm not like anti-Herbert. I'm like Nicole said, I kind of don't know how to feel yet. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I think Herbert has the potential there, but I don't think I think a lot of people in the fan community want to think he's RB1, like most definitely. When we have Roshan, who easily can break out. I think before week 4, we've been saying this forever. I think a lot of us have been saying before week 1. Week 1's upon us right now, so we haven't seen that happen. But going back to earlier, the Packers definitely have a better backfield, but like Miller said, we are a lot deeper. But Aaron Jones is a lot better than anyone we have right now. So sadly, we gotta give that point to the Packers. I think we gotta give them a little bit of credit there. Wide receivers, I think, is pretty cut and dry, just because their wide receivers are a big question mark. Just because Christian Watson has played one season, Romeo Doubs is in season 3.
No, he was a rookie last year too.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's also in season 2. Jaden Reed's also a rookie as well. This is going back to the Jordan Love point. There's a lot of question marks coming from there because they have not played meaningful games besides Watson and Doubs, and still, even then, they're rookies, and they're still big question marks. They didn't show out like Justin Jefferson in his first year. And we just picked up DJ Moore, and I think Darnell Mooney is still one of the best wide receiver 2s in the league. And Chase Claypool is always a good addition on the third rank. So I'm going to give us a point there. What do you guys think? I know a lot of you probably have the same opinion, but always good to hear from you guys.
To not just go and straight say the Bears have better ones. I really do like Green Bay's potential at the receiver position. Jaden Reed, I liked as like a late I think they overdrafted him. I'm not going to lie, but I liked him as like a later round kind of prospect receiver. Christian Watson, we all know, is one of my biggest draft crushes last year. Was a big fan of his. And Dobbs, he's also one of my guys, which sucks that I like all of the Packers receivers because, have to like have that personal bias of hating them now. But I think they're all very solid guys, but it's just they're young, they're learning, they're more potential guys than, right now kind of players for a guy like Love. And DJ Moore is a certified wide receiver 1. Mooney, like you said, one of the best wide receiver 2s in football. Claypool is a wide receiver 2 playing wide receiver 3. Like, so we it's weird because like the Bears haven't had a great receiver room since like Brandon Marshall and Jeffrey, but even after them two, there was a huge drop off. So this is probably like the best overall room we've had. Tyler Scott, I really like. I know he kind of had a rough preseason, if you want to say that,
because he didn't get to play. He
it
had
was-
one target, and it was an unfortunate play.
yeah, like it's not too much to look into, but Tyler Scott, I think, can potentially be a pretty solid option. Trent Taylor, the punt returner, if we ever needed him to take meaningful snaps at receiver, I think he's an okay guy. So I think I would definitely lean towards ours, but I do really like the potential of Green Bay's room in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the just kind of going receiver by receiver, right? Like Chicago has 2 guys that would be the number 1 receiver in Green Bay. Mooney and Moore are both better than Christian Watson, and then Claypool, arguably better than Christian Watson. I don't think he is, but he would still be wide receiver 2 in Green Bay. Tyler Scott would probably be wide receiver 3. Like I like him more than I like Jaden Reed. Equinemius St. Brown probably would be wide receiver 2 in Green Bay. Velus Jones would get meaningful snaps there. Trent Taylor would get meaningful snaps there. Like the Bears receiver room finally is actually fucking decent and is a lot better than what Green Bay has to offer. And I'm with Jared. I like Christian Watson. He was one of my favorite players in last year's draft. I was pounding the table for Chicago to get him, but that wasn't the move, and I'm glad it wasn't because I'm way happier with how our receiver room ended up. And outside of that, like I'm not moved by Green Bay's weapons.
I'm with Jared. I like the potential they have, but it's not there yet. Do we all like Christian Watson here? Because
I think we do.
Probably my favorite. If you gun to my head had to make me choose a favorite Packer, it's probably him. Outside of Rashawn Gary, which is because he went to Michigan. I will say it's really funny that Aaron Rodgers left and they're like, draft receivers, now's the time. I think that is fantastic trolling, and you got to give him credit when it's due. To saying F you to Aaron Rodgers. Good for them. It moved out of an unhealthy relationship. One of their rookies I really like, I was pulling for the Bears to get, although Tyler Scott could be the better addition here, is I'm going to say it wrong, Dontavian Wicks.
Wicks, yeah.
Yes. I really wanted the Bears to grab him. I was really high on him coming out of the draft. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he's behind we might see him on Sunday actually, depending on Dobbs and Watson.
Right.
But the upside right now is clearly with the Bears. I mean, DJ Moore is one of the best receivers in the game. Claypool's a good 3. Mooney's a great 2. And I think we're gonna see if Velus can get it together, man. Like he's just so fast. Just send him on streaks. Like
this is a Velus hating podcast.
No, dude, I want Velus to work out so bad just because the nickname V12 Engine would go so hard.
That is. I didn't even.
That's the only reason I'm rooting for the guy.
So much dick.
And like I hate to root against anyone, to be honest, but it's like, man, just don't put him in the punt return game. For the love of God, I just don't want him catching kicks.
Well, now we have superstar punt returner Trent Taylor. So
thank God.
All-time great punt returner Trent Taylor.
When you think about the legends of the game and you think about punt returners, you think about Trent Taylor.
It's
when
Devin Hester 1, Trent Taylor 2.
Yeah, when you think of legendary Chicago Bears punt returners, it's Trent Taylor, naturally. But
Someone else.
I think the Packers' upside at receiver really interests me in the next coming years. I hate to prey on their downfall because I do like their receiving room now. But right now it's the Bears. It has to be.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty in agreement there. Moving into the safety blanket of the offense. And I know that Jared is going to be super happy when we talk about this. It's the tight ends, and you know what? We have 2 of their tight ends from last season backing up Cole Kmet, and that doesn't speak volumes on their rookies. I think that's all I have to really say. They have rookies, and we have their 2 tight ends from last year backing up our number 1 guy. And I know that Miller is super happy talking about Cole Kmet in just a second, but yeah, again, another point to the Bears just because the offense has the better safety blanket and the better proven safety blanket, I should say, actually. But the floor's all yours.
I guess we're going to kind of go in the same order every time,
Yeah,
which works for me. So, again, it's basically the same thing as the receiver position instead of just outright saying the Bears. I do like the potential of Green Bay's tight end room. I really, really do. But I think that goes to show how much of a rebuild the Packers are going through because it's just potential so far at every position. It's not proven talent. I like the potential, but Cole Kmet, I've been preaching Cole Kmet as a top tier tight end, tight end 7 or 8 in the entire league. Probably longer than I should have, but dude is a good tight end, and I will stand by it. Robert Tonyan, he's not like an elite level guy or anything like that, but for a tight end 2, he's the best tight end 2 the Bears have had in forever. He may have no blocking ability whatsoever, but he's one of the better receiving tight ends in the league. Which again, not my favorite kind of tight end, but for the offense, it works. I can deal with it. And then Mercedes Lewis, obviously, as our tight end 3, dude. On the flip side of things, has no receiving game, but is probably the best blocking tight end in the league. So we have Cole Kmet, who has both sides where he can receive and he can block. We have Tonyan, who's just a receiver at tight end, so he's like a poser. And then we have Mercedes Lewis, who is just a pure blocker. And I think as a combo for the position as a whole, that flows really well for the offense. And as for the Packers, tight end is one of the hardest positions to transition to from college to the pros. Having 2 rookies start at the position for you, while I think that they could develop into something down the road, especially in their first game of their career, it's going to be rough. I don't want to sound biased in saying this. I feel like I've done a good job not doing that, but it's a tough position to learn. Even guys like Cole Kmet, who's the number 1 tight end in his draft, he had a rough learning curve for the position. These guys weren't as high tier prospects as Kmet was. It's their first game of their career against a great linebacking core. It's going to be a struggle for them, and so especially for this game, I'm giving the edge to the Bears.
Nicole, since Miller looks a bit busy.
Yeah, I was going to give him the floor with Cole Kmet anyway, so I can make this short and sweet, or as long as Miller is gone, I guess. But yeah, it's the Bears, right? Yeah. Jared, to your point, I feel like I'm piggybacking off of you most of today, but again, there's upside, but not much else, not much that we know. Musgrave, I was a big fan of coming out of the draft. I mean, I was a big fan of Oregon State last year because it was just off topic, the funniest end to the Pac-12 this season is Oregon State winning it all. Go Beavs. Go Sun Devils too, but go Beavs.
Sun Devils can't make the playoffs, so.
Yeah. Maybe we were cooking with that bowl ban. Anyways, Cole Kmet is established. Musgrave in that tight end room isn't. We haven't really seen the Packers have a standout tight end in a minute. I was
about to say Jordan Nelson, but that's completely wrong. Martellus Bennett.
Who was I'm blanking on his name, but he was a great fantasy pickup 2 years ago because he just got wide open for the Packers.
Tonyan was good with the Packers. There was one season where he had 11 touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe that was
his
Tonyan.
Knee.
Wow.
But I mean, back in the day, was Jeremiah Finley. I know you said Martellus Bennett. They had a few guys who were not big names, and I think if they ever went somewhere else, they didn't really amount to anything, but they were solid with Green Bay. Green Bay, I feel for the most part, have always been they didn't have the most talented guys, but they just have great game plans every week where they scheme guys open. It seems at an unbelievably amazing rate.
Are you giving Mike McCarthy props?
I'm not saying it's McCarthy specific. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is just like, hey, I know how to scheme guys open, but dudes were open. You can't deny how wide open they were every time.
Aaron Rodgers is the head coach when Mike McCarthy was around.
Could
well, isn't it kind of? I feel like I heard this. I don't know if it was true, but McCarthy would send a play in, and Rodgers would get to the line and be like, "Yeah, we're not fucking doing that."
I saw that somewhere. I don't remember.
Feel like
where
that
it
was true.
You know, the more I read about Rodgers, the more I learn about him after he's left the Packers, the more I like him. I hate that I had that like thought process that because he's a Packer, I hated him and everything like that. But he's a lot better now. I think that Green Bay killed his mental health, which makes sense because
dude's a weirdo, but I feel like he's a respectable
hate him. Yeah,
weirdo.
I'm gonna be real.
But everything I read about him talking to Zach Wilson, and
I could never like the man. I'm sorry. It may just be. It's probably just because of the hatred of the rivalry. But Aaron Rodgers is not. I do like him more than I did in Green Bay, but I'm never going to be like, oh, I'm a rooting.
I'm not saying
Aaron
I
Rodgers.
love him. I'm saying the guy is all right now. He's all right, I think.
It is funny how he went to New York and is like, just. It's almost backwards because you'd think you'd be in a big city, you'd want to get to somewhere small as Green Bay, to get away from it all. And he's like, no, I want to get away from Green Bay.
Yeah, he was like a crackhead in Green Bay, and then he goes to New York. He gets rid of that awful haircut for just a generic white dude haircut. Yeah. He starts being a good teammate, and it's like all the opposite of when people get to the big city, get all the lights on them, and then become a terrible teammate, go off the deep end on everything. Yeah.
No, it's completely different. Although I guess he's in New Jersey technically, so maybe that's it.
We're still calling it New York. All right?
Yeah, I know. But back to the tight ends. I mean, it's the Bears. We just I don't know what else to say. We just haven't seen it. It's a lot of our points with the Packers, right? Outside of defensive snaps, we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly valid point. I mean, that's the thing with Packers. They're very young. They're very much potential-wise. It's not going to be the Packers years. I think we've all understood that the Packers year is not going to be this year because of how young and how potential-wise they are. Unless, for some reason, Jordan Love is Patrick Mahomes, which, God, please don't do that.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so Miller just disappeared, which is fine.
I guess over to Miller doesn't get to talk about Cole Kmet.
No,
dang, bad timing.
Privilege. O-line is I don't know the Packers O-line, so I'm not even gonna try to assume I know anything about the O-line. So, if you guys know anything, go ahead.
I mean, if we're just going off of who has the better offensive line, I feel like we've just been doing this the whole time. We're just going off the experienced ones, but the Packers have a good offensive line. It's not elite as it has usually been. I mean, Bakhtiari is one of the better tackles in all of football. The only problem is he never seems to be able to stay healthy. To my knowledge, he's playing, but he could be playing with still a tweaked knee or something like that. Mm-hmm. But when he does play, he is one of the better tackles in football. So that's definitely the advantage there. Elton Jenkins, I can speak English, I think is also a very, very good offensive lineman. They have other pieces. Zach Tom isn't half bad. He's, a serviceable guy. It's mostly a line filled with serviceable guys. And then you have Bakhtiari when he's healthy, Elton Jenkins when he's healthy. And I think with a fully healthy line, I think I'm going with them over us just because Braxton Jones, while he was really, really good for a 5th round rookie last year, he still definitely has some weaknesses and he's not in that upper tier where Bakhtiari is. Nate Davis, he's a new addition. I'm pretty I don't lean one way or the other with him. I think he's just a solid offensive lineman. Darnell Wright, I really do like at right tackle, but it's going to be his first career game. The Packers defensive line is pretty solid. He's going to be going against Rashawn Gary again on a snap count, but those few snaps he does have, he's a very, very good defensive lineman. Van Ness is probably going to get some play time. He's very solid. I think maybe Darnell Wright I'd be more confident against him than obviously than Rashawn Gary, but he's gonna get tested in his first game is basically what I'm getting it from that. And then we kind of talked about it earlier, but with Lucas Patrick at center and Cody Whitehair at left guard, I'm a big Cody Whitehair fan. Just because he's been on the team so long, it's like if I didn't like him by this point, that he'd never have hope because he's like the longest tenured Bear. I think about him or Patrick Scales. He's not anything special. He's just kind of like a serviceable guy. Lucas Patrick, we don't really know what we're getting from him because last year when he was on the team, he was just injured basically the entire length of it. I will say last year when he did play center, he was better than when he was guard. He was just absolutely atrocious at guard. So maybe at center, it won't be so bad, but still there's a lot of question marks on our offensive line that aren't on their offensive line. So I would definitely lean towards Green Bay with the strength at offensive line there.
I agree with that too. Too many question marks, and the Bears' offensive line, with the history of this offensive line, I gotta see it to believe it. I think the pieces are there. It's just, can they perform? Can they come in on Sunday and do their job and finally protect Justin Fields? Like, can someone please, for the love of God, do that? I love the pick of Darnell Wright. Missing out on Paris Johnson maybe will hurt, but I think Darnell Wright is the right guy. But I'm because his name is Wright. But anyways, but yeah, Nate Davis is a good new addition. But yeah, like they still have Bakhtiari if he can stay on the field. John Runyon, like they just got a little bit of that edge with that experience.
See, because my thing is, I feel like they don't have like any like weak spots. I'd say like all of their guys are at least serviceable. We really don't know if Lucas Patrick is even a serviceable option at center, to be honest. So like it's kind of like a potentially we could be better, but we know what they have, and what they have is a solid offensive line, and then they have they're like elite guys who are, when they're healthy, one of some of the best in the league, which we don't quite have just yet. But maybe Darnell Wright can get there, and Braxton Jones, but who knows?
Gotta hope. Like I said, I don't know anything about the Packers O-line, so I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about that. So 2 against 1 anyways, if I ever thought the Bears. So we know what's there. Before we swap over to the defensive side, I just want to quickly go over the coaching, just because I don't like Matt LaFleur. I think he's kind of fraudulent. I think he's not a Mike McCarthy type thing because of Rodgers, and we saw that when Rodgers wasn't playing well, the team didn't do well, and I think that ultimately falls apart with the head coach. They went 8-9 with Rodgers, and Matt LaFleur didn't do shit with it. So I think Matt LaFleur is not at LaFleur's level just yet, but I don't think that LaFleur is like the top 10 coach that everyone thinks he is. I think he's definitely towards the middle of the pack, if not a little bit lower.
Yeah, I've never been a big LaFleur guy either. I don't think he's like a bad coach, like bottom of the barrel or anything. I just think he's like he's an all right coach. He's not anything special, but something you have to think about is the fact that like having debatably the best quarterback in the league. I know like Mahomes is the best, but like Rodgers is up there. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. His entire coaching career in the NFL, like as a head coach, he has had the best quarterback in the league, basically, like an insane Hall of Fame level talent. And I feel like you have to think about the fact about how much easier that makes your job as a head coach. I know that like there's the coaches that turn their quarterback into Hall of Famers, which then makes their job easier, which credit to them. He came into a job with Aaron Rodgers already there. Again, not a bad coach. He's not going to like make you worse or anything like that, but he's just not going to make you that much better. I think he's just a serviceable guy. Eberflus, I really don't know. I would still give the edge to Matt LaFleur just for the fact that we know he's middle of the pack. Eberflus, I really love the hits principle. I've made that very, very clear many of times. It's like my favorite thing that he brought to the team. But we really don't know what he brings other than that, because last year he had the least talented roster in all of football.
Mhm.
I'm not going to judge his entire coaching career on what he did with Dante Pettis and Josh Blackwell, this undrafted rookie cornerback playing meaningful snaps. Like that's
Mhm.
it. Once he this year, I think we'll definitely get a better idea. I think even then we're not going to have 100% sure, but we just really don't know. I'd like to see him with some kind of talent. At least this year, it's not the worst talent, like the worst roster in NFL history. He'll have some pieces he can win with. I would like to see that before actually crowning him a good coach or a bad coach. But for now, I would definitely lean in the direction of Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, he gets the edge just because he's been to the playoffs, and it was with Rodgers. But he does have the edge just based on that fact alone. Eberflus is. I still don't know. I'd like to hire when it happened. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, defensive coach for Justin Fields. Like, why would you do that?" And it seems to work out pretty well so far. It's not like it's been anything special, obviously, as we've seen, but the pieces are there. Eberflus is the guy to lead him in the right direction, and LaFleur, we haven't seen him without a Hall of Fame quarterback. So, what can he do? How much of an offensive genius is he with Jordan Love and really young wide receivers? Because we know what Eberflus can get Justin to do. We don't know what LaFleur can get Love to do. And even if it didn't amount to wins last year, because wins are not a QB stat, there was clear development under Eberflus with Fields that just didn't happen with Nagy.
Yeah, that's the thing where they get a little bit of credit to Getsy. I think Getsy did a lot of help on the coaching side of the ball. So let's move into the defense just so we can start wrapping up.
You don't respect the coordinators.
I don't know our coordinators, to be fair, besides Getsy. I'm going to be
Luke Getsy. Alan Williams is our defensive coordinator, and then I think it's Ron Hightower is our special teams coordinator, which I like Getsy. I don't like Williams that much a defensive coordinator yet, but again, he literally had nothing to work with at all, so I'm not going to discredit him that much. Hightower, I mean, special teams coaching does matter. I'm not going to discredit his entire profession, but Trenton Gill was great. Santos is a very good kicker. Pat Scales is lovable. I don't think we really had that many special teams miscues other than Velus Jones just being ass at the sport, which isn't really his fault. He didn't rub his hands with a stick of butter or anything before he went out there. It was just Velus can't catch the ball. I like our coordinators. I just wanted to throw that out there and give them their little respects. Williams, I think he needs to improve from last year now that he has one of the best, if not best, linebacking core. He has a pretty solid secondary. I know he's weak on the defensive line, but we can look around the defensive line and still he needs to improve from last year. Packers coordinators, though, I had to Google it. I knew Joe Barry was their defensive coordinator. I know Packers fans hate him.
He's
I'm not going to go in depth why, because no, I do not study Packers film like that to know what Joe Barry is bad at. I didn't even know who their offensive coordinator is. I've never heard the name Adam Stenovich before. So I'm just going to leave it at the Bears ones, and we'll just leave it at that.
Joe Barry is playing Jair Alexander off of his assignment, which was terrible because Jair is a very sticky, very man-to-man person. So he didn't play his corners correctly. That's why Joe Barry's bad. He just doesn't know his personnel.
Is he like Chuck Pagano when he was dropping Khalil Mack back in coverage?
Basically, yeah.
That made me lose my mind every time.
Speaking of defense, you already touched on the defensive line. I think it's pretty easily to the Packers, not just because of Kenny Clark, but they also have Rashawn Gary coming off the edge. And we have Ngakwe, which is not a bad thing, but not a Gary, not a Kenny Clark. Hopefully Javon Dexter becomes Kenny Clark, but we don't have that right now. We have kind of the massive question mark right now besides Yannick Ngakwe. So I gotta give that to the Packers, sadly, even though I really don't want to, because Gary is on a snap count, and Clark, I think Clark's still an unknown, isn't he?
Clark, I'm not sure.
Let me.
I didn't even know about Watson and Dobbs, so I'm not gonna try and take a guess at that. I think, I mean, honestly, Kenny Clark is like obviously the big name on that defensive line. I think he's one of the most underrated players in football. Like people, when you think of great defensive linemen, I feel like not many people mention Kenny Clark, even though they should. Dude's insane defensive tackle. And like you said, we're doing the whole potential thing again. They have the more defined names. We're just potential guys, but I think throughout this season, if we did this for every single team we played, there's not much, if any, teams that I could say our defensive line is better than. It's bad. It's just what it is. It's young dudes or serviceable guys. We literally don't have any like alphas, as we've said before. Ngakoue is solid, but the only like downside of him is he's just a pure pass rusher. He basically does nothing in the run game. Dexter I do like, but I think that he's more of a developmental guy. Like he's not going to be great right away. Pickens I think he's also kind of developmental, but he's probably never going to be more than just like a rotational defensive lineman. Billings is a good, run stuffer. That's about all he is. Trying to think. DeMarcus Walker, I know Bears fans like him, like I do. Just he posted on Twitter him working out, and I'm like, yeah, bro, that guy got that dog in him. He's a fan favorite. And then Rasheem Green, who Bears fans all over, like, why do they like him so much? He literally does nothing. I know in their like 1920 football drive thing they just posted, he got in the Alan Williams was handing out the awards for like flying to the ball or whatever, went to Noah Sewell. There was two other ones. One of them was like setting the edge award, and he gave it to Rasheem Green. So maybe that's what he does, is he sets the edge well. I don't know. They like him for some reason. Maybe we'll see when the actual season starts and it's not just preseason. But our defensive line is shaky at best. It's not good, especially week one. It's gonna be pretty I don't want to say nightmarish, but they're probably gonna run all over us quite a bit, and I'm kind of scared about it.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet because I think games are, as we know, won and lost in the trenches, and the Packers have the edge there. And so that's my biggest worry, I think, going in, is that Jordan Love is just going to get that much more time in the pocket than Fields. And defensive line, like I said with our offensive line, I think a lot of question marks still, right? I'll believe it when I see it. It's clearly better than years past, but that's a pretty low bar. So it's to beat this Packers D-line, they got to be on their A game. Kenny Clark is one of the more underrated guys there. Preston Smith, outside linebacker, but I feel like they just got a lot of guys a lot of big guys that can come at you and get through the line very quickly. So they got the edge there. They can just get off the ball a lot quicker than our guys right now.
Yeah, I think we're like you said, Nicole, like one in the trenches, and that's I think why I'm more worried about this game than usual is because we're a lot weaker there than like usual. Like usually we have a good defense, at least front four, and this is the first time we've never had that besides last year, obviously. But we usually had at least one like alpha guy. We had Khalil Mack, we had Julius Peppers. We go back all the way to the '85 Bears with Richard Dent. So like we've always had that guy on the front four that's always been setting the edge. And if Rasheem Green can do that, I really hope so. But I don't really believe that Rasheem Green is going to do that for us.
I'm not calling him an elite guy, but one thing I'm very I'm curious about is, so Terrell Lewis, was a shock release. He had made the 53 man, and then as soon as the waiver wire thing closed, we picked up oh my god, what is his name?
Khalid Kareem, I think.
Kareem, yes. We picked him up and then released Terrell Lewis, which I was very mad about. Still kind of angered. We didn't even sign him to our practice squad. He's just floating about in nothingness land, and I don't understand why, and it kind of makes me sad. I mean, I'm not saying he would make us a better defensive line than theirs or anything like that, but I'm just, why? Why can't I just want to be happy? Him or DeAnthony Jones is all I needed to be happy, and we didn't keep either of them.
Yeah. Moving a little bit farther back into the linebackers, And what I'm realizing throughout this podcast is that these two teams are very much weak at the points where we're strong against, and strong against but the points we're weak at. It's simply it's 1-1, 1 point to each when we go through all these things. And I believe that the Bears have probably the second best linebacking core behind the Ravens, if maybe the 49ers as well, because Drake Greenlaw still exists. But yeah, like we have Tremaine Edmonds, who was amazing last year. He's a big, bulky man down the middle. Hopefully, we'll be clocking those holes that eventually get opened up by the Packers O line, because I don't think they're gonna let Trevon Dexter just walk through.
Well, that's a bad time to freeze.
Dang.
I don't want to cut him off. I
I
also
know,
don't want the
right?
silence. Well, while I give him that, I'm just going to throw out a fun fact. It's not really a fun fact. So everyone always talks about how tall Tremaine Edmonds is, and I'm like, yeah, bro's like a giant. Like he's a massive person because he's like 6'5". I'm 6'4", so he's literally like barely taller than me.
Hi.
Hey, we were just throwing
Oh,
fun
welcome
facts
back.
over the silence. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds is like an inch taller than me, and everyone always talks about him as like a huge person. I'm like, I'm average size, so it's like it's no biggie. And then it's like him a giant, but we're like the same size. I mean, obviously he's like
No offense, Drake.
muscular.
He's got that Hulk-like structure.
Listen, you've never seen me not sitting in this chair. You don't know what I look like standing up. All right.
Actually, you're really tall as fuck. I've seen pictures of you. Like I was saying, we have Jack Sanborn as well. We have TJ Edwards, a great linebacker. Honestly, Noah Sewell as a backup is amazing because wasn't he like projected to be top 5 pick before the last season of college?
He was projected to be high, and then I think it was like injury issues and whatnot kind of derailed him. I think he was a 4th or 5th round pick.
5th.
It's one of the two,
I think. Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, one of the best linebacking cores in the league. So, I think that easily the point goes there. But they have Quay Walker, who is going to strangle his his trainer on the sideline. So he'll be out by quarter 1. So, yeah. You good, Jared?
I'm good. I was Miller just messaged us in the chat, and I was a
Yeah.
little taken off guard from looking at it.
Now we all look.
I don't know what to say. I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't either, so I just sent a GIF.
I guess we can talk to Miller after this, I
Yeah.
guess, because that seems serious.
Linebackers.
Yes. I really like our linebacking core. I do think it's one of the best in the league. I've said this. I think the 49ers probably are up there with us. It might be the bias, but I really, really like our linebacking core. I mean, obviously we don't have Fred Warner or anything like that, but Edmonds is a very, very solid linebacker. Like the thing with losing Roquan, people are like, oh, it's dumb. David mentioned this last week, but we lost Roquan. Like, why would you get rid of him just to spend big money on a different linebacker? Roquan is great. Don't get me wrong. One of the best linebackers in football, which I want to point out, which is weird because in Madden, he was like an 88, no ability player. And then he leaves the team and now he's like a 95 X factor. That's off topic, but he just didn't fit our scheme very well. I mean, he still had good games, but he was very inconsistent, not very good in the run game. I mean, dude got blocked by Carson Wentz in that Commanders game. I'm pretty sure he got knocked over by Carson Wentz, if I'm not mistaken. They're very different players. They're both great linebackers, but just very different. And Edmonds very much fits what Eberflus wants. Also, what David has said before, Edmonds is basically if Eberflus got to create his perfect linebacker in a lab, it would be Edmonds. So obviously I'm very excited for him. I think he's going to be like, Packers have always had great quarterbacks. We've always had great linebackers. The next like great Chicago linebacker. TJ Edwards, also a big fan of his. I think he's obviously not on that tier of Edmonds, but he's still very, very good. Sanborn, I don't think he's going to be on the field that much because of the defense we run is more of like a nickel base. But when he does get to be on the field, Sanborn, I think he was great last year as an undrafted rookie, and he was like one of the standouts of our defense, which I guess wasn't that hard to do, but it's still an achievement. So I really like Sanborn. Sewell, I think, can be like come in on a few plays here and there, and I'm comfortable with him playing. I really like how he played in the preseason. He seems aggressive. He's not afraid to hit somebody, which is always fun to have in a linebacker. And like you said, the Packers linebacking core just isn't great. Quay Walker is, again, a potential guy as a rookie last year. He's hella athletic, and I'll give him that, but he definitely has a lot of room to improve before he's considered a good or great linebacker or anything like that. So I think without a doubt, the Packers or the Bears have the edge there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. I think Edmonds and Edwards, got to think those. Think those ones through, are just such great pickups to a young linebacking core otherwise. I'll keep it short and sweet. It's the Bears. We're almost back to we're on the right track of getting back to the Urlacher Briggs days, which feels like a really large statement to make. But like, I'm really high. Like everyone's high on Edmonds. I'm really high on TJ Edwards. I think those former Eagles linebackers are gonna, because I'm big on Kaiser White with the Cardinals too. So they're just great pickups.
Yeah, our linebacker core is amazing.
See, while you say that's like a big statement to make about being like the Urlacher, I don't think it is either. I just wanted to point out on Twitter, this was a couple years ago, I think. I had tweeted something about how I thought Roquan could potentially be like the best linebacker in Bears history, which I think he still had the ability to do if things went differently.
If he wanted to be in Chicago, yeah.
Just from a pure athletic standpoint, he had the advantage over like literally anybody else we ever had. Obviously didn't happen, but Bears fans wanted to murder me. So I mean, I know how it feels to make broad like pretty serious statements about Bears linebackers.
Yeah.
Bears, the old Bears fans will not take kindly to anything.
Oh no, because nothing new can be better.
Yeah.
And finally, going on to the secondary, which I think is the closest point, because Jair Alexander does exist. We had to acknowledge his presence, that he is one of the top cornerbacks in the league. But I do believe that we slightly edged it out just because of our depth here. We have Jalen Johnson, we have Tarek Stevenson, we have Kyler Gordon, who are all pretty good cornerbacks. And not saying the Green Bay Packers don't, but their cornerbacks are mid at most. Like Eric Stokes hasn't really shown up, but I think overall we have the depth. They have the star power, and it's very close there. Right? And I want to give us the edge just because of bias, probably, but I do believe that we have the better core, and we also have. Oh my God, can I speak today? Jaquan Brisker, and we have Eddie Jackson in back of the field, and I think that. I'm not big on Eddie Jackson, but I do think Jaquan Brisker has potential to break out and be one of the top safeties, if not the top safety in the league. Hopefully his groin is working well, and he can actually show up the Packers fans that are all blasting Twitter right now about that statement he made a few days ago. So I want to give us the slight edge, but again, Jair Alexander does exist.
I don't know, but just the phrase like "I hope his groin is good and working" is just hilarious to me. It makes sense. I'm not clowning you for it, but just putting it into words was funny. If we're going pure cornerback, not just safety, I think I would lean Green Bay just because Jair Alexander. I do think we have like maybe more depth, but also we have. I've used this entire time, but potential. Kyler Gordon improved at the end of last year, but we don't really know if he's going to take that next step. I think he is. Kyler Gordon thinks he's going to be in for a huge year, and he's going to end up being one of the best, if not best, nickel cornerbacks in all of football. I am so big on Kyler Gordon this year; it's insane. But Tyreek Stevenson, as a rookie, you don't really know what you're going to get. I do like what I've seen from training camp and from the preseason. He's scrappy, which sometimes a little too scrappy, getting those late hit calls. But I think he's going to be solid. But especially for your first career game against a play caller like LaFleur, I think may cause some issues. So I don't want to give him the benefit just yet. Stokes, I know last year, I think he's not elite or a top guy or anything like that yet. but I think he was solid enough last year where you can respect him. Rasul Douglas, I think, is also very, very solid cornerback. But Jair is basically like what carries them. I know like Jalen Johnson, I think is a really, really good cornerback too. His weaknesses are really getting those turnover plays, which I know he's worked on a lot in this offseason to improve because it's his biggest weakness. He's more of just a lockdown guy, but Jair is a lockdown corner, but he also gets those turnovers for you, which is huge for a defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jair's just in the top like 3 corners in the entire league, which definitely brings up that the group average higher than us. So I definitely would lean Green Bay with corners as well.
They like with everything, it feels like they have the star power at the top, but we have the depth, which is, to your guys' point, what I would say. It's interesting to hear you say you're huge on Kyler Gordon, because not that I'm not, but like he's got to have a breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to at least show something, because he definitely improved at the end of last season, but it was just otherwise hard to watch him back there sometimes. I think I will say I think Tyreek Stevenson has a shot to take his spot come the end of the season. I think he's got a really good chance. I know Miller isn't huge on Eddie Jackson. I am. I want him to be good again. I'm really rooting for him. I'm pulling for him. I think last season was telling enough that he is on the upward trend again. Mm-hmm. Now the whole not tackling thing, yeah, that ticked me off too. That's an asinine statement to make, but I think he's on the mend. He's coming back, and then Brisker is just a stud. Like we know he's a stud, and Jalen Johnson I'm also big on too. So that they have the top heavy. We got the depth. Rasul Douglas is a great second man though, and I mean Darnell Savage was the Sun Devil, so I got to be a little high on him.
No. No, you really don't. It's just
yeah, no, I know he's a Packer now, but it's almost even. Jair puts him over a little, but not like a tremendous amount, just because we have the depth over them. It's pretty close, I think. I could go half and half. I could go either way.
I will say I was just going based on purely corners. I think if you do include safeties, I think that our safety room is just that much more drastic over theirs, that I think it would be a lot more even. I'm a big Eddie Jackson guy. I have been for a while, even during his dark years, I guess you could say. And I know we've talked about it a little bit. He went through a lot of personal traumas during those dark years that were like, I think football is a mental game as much as it is a physical game.
Yeah.
Whenever you have those off the field things, yeah, if there's small things, you can kind of just block it out for the time being and it's fine. But like the things that he went through for like those couple of years, like I don't think anyone mentally could like just ignore it. So I think it was obvious that something was going on with just when his level of play dropped so drastically. Then last year, he comes out and he explains like, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And then last year he had a really, really good season. He was like in line to probably be like an all-pro caliber safety before the injury. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro, but he's a good turnover machine. He's good at, obviously he's good at getting turnovers. Tackling is still a weakness, but he's a good, solid safety. He's one of the vets on the team. As for Brisker, I think is going to be an all-pro this year. I mentioned it on the podcast with David, like the team preview from last season when we drafted Brisker. I was like, I don't think he's going to be like elite day one, but very, very quickly he's going to be an elite level safety, and I think he's going to be elite very quickly. I think it'll be like as early as this year, like without a doubt. I think he's going to be an all-pro level guy. Dude's one of the best safeties in football this year. He just so well-rounded. I know you don't really think of him as a coverage guy, but he definitely has that aspect to his game. He's also a big hitter, especially for game one. He's already, starting crap with Packers fans on Twitter with the, people hate Green Bay, I hate Green Bay, that kind of a thing. So I think he's in for a big year. To kind of piggyback off of the Nicole's point on Kyler Gordon, I don't think Tyreek Stevenson would replace him as much as like they play the same position, but the big problem with Kyler Gordon being so I don't know. I don't want to say bad because I don't think he was bad, but like not as good at the beginning of last year. They very much played him at different positions. Like instead of just being as a pure nickel corner, they played him on the outside sometimes, and then like on the inside in the slot sometimes. And it's hard to switch back and forth. David has mentioned this a couple times, but it's hard to switch back and forth. And I think this year we drafted Stevenson just for the aspect of he's going to be the outside corner, Jalen Johnson's going to be the outside corner, and we have Kyler Gordon specifically for in the slot as the nickel guy. And I think with him being, which that's where he played towards the end of last year specifically, and that's where you really started to see his game improve was when he stayed at nickel. And I think this entire season, him being at nickel is going to be huge for his improvement, and that's why I think he's in for such a big year. Stevenson and Johnson on the outside. Or Johnson, we know what he is. Not a very big turnover guy, but he's pretty locked out. I mean, he goes head to head with top receivers all the time and he holds himself pretty well. Stevenson, I think, is going to be our scrappy, more turnover machine on the opposite of Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then to wrap things up, I just want to talk about special teams real quick because I just figured out who the Packers punter and kicker were because they cut Mason Crosby and they cut Pat O'Donnell. So I just figured out that they have, I think the punter's name is Josh Wellen, I want to say.
God, don't get me lying. I know it's like two rookies or something, but I don't know their names.
Wellen.
Daniel, yeah.
And then some rookie, other guy named Carlson, which I was really confused playing Madden. I was like, did they pick up Daniel Carlson somehow? But I mean, again, we've been talking about this all day long. It's potential versus unknowns, and we know who Trenton Gill is. He's the GOAT, so I'm going to give us the point there. And Carlos Santos, I really don't want to give us the point for Carlos Santos just because he can't hit an extra point, and he's not a long-range kicker, so I'm going to give him the point on kicker, but I think that overall, Trenton Gill just makes up for it. Can we just put Trenton Gill as our kicker? I think we should just do that.
I think you're very much downplaying Santos. I don't think again, the extra points I get and the fact that he can't kick past like 50 yards. So he's not like an elite kicker or anything like that, but like dude's serviceable. I mean, he's the best kicker we've had in a long time. I know people go on the whole like never should have cut Robbie Gould, but I also think people ignore the fact. I don't know if you remember the last season we had Robbie Gould. He was atrocious. I'm not even going to lie to you. He was so bad that last year that no one really complained that we cut him until we got Parkey, and Parkey was, the devil himself as a kicker and literally, scorned the Bears franchise with the double doink. Then people were like, you know what? We never should have left or got rid of Robbie Gould. It's very much a grass isn't always greener kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then we stumbled upon Santos, who was in Kansas City. Then he had like a groin injury, and they released him and replaced him with I don't know if it was Butker yet or if it was someone and then Butker, but they replaced him. We get Santos, and he's very, very solid other than extra points for some reason, but then the past 50. But I mean, like, was it 2 years ago when he had like 30 straight field goals made, which not just any kicker can do. So I'm not going to downplay him that much. But obviously, yeah, Trenton Gill, definitely the better punter. Trenton Gill, not even just from an aspect of like how much I like Trenton Gill. He's actually a very, very good punter.
Yeah, I think, again, if we were to summarize this podcast, it would be experience versus potential. Is really what's happening here on like both sides. Like not one is experience, not one is potential. But I think Bears, because of the experience, have the special teams. Packers have had a little bit of a rough time with special teams lately. So I think, and part of that's coaching too. I think they got to get that figured out. So right now, and maybe they have, but right now we got the edge because we know what our guys can do. Even if Cairo can sometimes miss an extra point. It's still, to your point, Jared, a lot better than what it used to be. And then obviously Trenton Gill, what more needs to be said?
Yeah, go.
I also want to point out that one of these days I'm going to get the Trenton Gill t-shirt. The whole like the guillotine thing. I need to find that tweet again so I can find it, but the funniest thing I've ever seen. It'll be perfect for the episode we have Trenton Gill.
Guillotine right now, just so we can.
I mean, it's on Trenton Gill's Twitter, and he doesn't tweet all that much, so I could probably find it pretty quickly.
Yeah. It'll show up again, I'm sure.
Grayson's also frozen again. Grayson's
Dang.
internet has been selling this entire time. Normally, it's not like this. Like Grayson is usually like perfectly fine the whole time, but you know,
It's been selling hard.
Technical difficulties because also he's our host, so it's not perfect. Because I didn't know if there was another like talking point or.
Yeah, we don't have the run of show here, so.
Well, we'll talk about kick and punt returns, which I think that they definitely beat us on kick returns. I think Velus Jones, solid kick return, but Kayshawn Nixon, I think he's normally like a cornerback per se, which I think on their initial depth chart he was a starter, but I assume he's still going to do kick returns. Very, very good kick returner. I'm not sure about their punt returning, but I know Trent Taylor, I'll be biased. I don't care. Trent Taylor is the better punt returner.
As long as Velus can catch the ball and hold on to it, I am okay. He doesn't have to run with it. Just keep it like out of the 1 yard line. Just be smart. Just please know what you're doing back there.
I feel like last year he wasn't bad at kick returns. It's specifically punt returns, which I don't understand. But also one thing, I think I pointed it out. I've pointed it out on some podcasts, whichever it may have been the team preview. When it did come to punt returners with Velus, the punts that he did a bad job catching were against the Giants and the Commanders, which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, both of their punters are left-footed punters. He practices on the daily. I know Tress Way is for the Commanders. Yeah. He's left-footed. I don't remember exactly for the Giants, but you don't think about it, but I've heard it been said before that depending on what foot you kick with, the ball spins a different way. Yeah. So you kind of have to adjust for which way it's kicked. So both of them were against, you know, a left-footed kicker, and he'd never practiced against that. That's why we signed his name was like Ryan Anderson. He was like on our training camp roster as a punter. He was a left-footed punter to kind of help with that. Given it doesn't matter now because we have Trent Taylor, but I think Velus will be okay at kick returns. I think he's explosive with the ball in his hands. So like as long as he catches the ball fine and you have more time on kick returns than punt returns, I'm fine with it. Punt returns, Trent Taylor. I don't think he's going to be an explosive, you know, score 5 punt return touchdowns on the season or anything like that. He probably won't even get one, but he'll catch the ball and maybe get like 10, 15 yards every once in a while. Like it, I'm not going to complain about it. I think he'll be better than what we had last year, which is an improvement.
I think everything we have this year is an improvement from last year, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's not hard to do, but yeah, very fair.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up? I know went a little over time, but we also talked about racist cities in Texas and armadillos.
What about score predictions? Let's throw out some score predictions.
Shit.
Nicole with the W here. Anyone want to go first?
21-17 Bears.
I'm going to say 23-14. I was going to say 23-10, but
ooh, a fun score.
I'm going to go 23.
I like weird wonky numbers.
Cynthia Freeland also always has weird wonky numbers when predicting scores, which I don't entirely get, but I love it nonetheless.
See, I feel like we have a good I'm going way too in depth on this, so this is supposed to be a fun thing at the end. Like, we have a good offense and a bad defense, and I feel like they have a questionable offense but a good defense. So I think it's not going to be super high scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go... You know what? Never mind. We're going to go 27-24 Chicago.
A lot closer than I'd be comfortable with. I like the 4 points instead of 3 points.
I think it's going to be close regardless.
Yeah,
I think so too.
It's just warming up for the season and getting us ready for the rest of it. And I think more of the game to come down will be, is it week 17 we play them? Or do we play the Vikings?
I assume we play the Vikings week 18 like we always do. So
I don't know.
I just hope Jordan Love is... I want Jordan Love to be mid. I don't want him to be bad, and I don't want him to be good. Because I want him to be mid where they hold on hope for him, but they don't tank and get like Caleb Williams or something.
Make him Mitch. But yeah, I think that's going to be all for this episode of the Bear Down Boys podcast. Let us know what you guys think about the game coming up. And we'll be back next week with recapping the Packers game and also moving on to the Bucs game where we face Baker Mayfield and whomever else is on the team.
Yeah, we'll be recapping the W. And he's frozen again. Okay, cool.
On
Grayson,
the outro, man.
Grayson,
That's
fix
rough.
your Wi-Fi. Okay. I don't want to do it, but Grayson's our outro guy.
He was mid outro too.
All right, I'm back. Where was I? We'll see you guys next week, and bye-bye.